everybody, Fu here. I'm going to be casting Game 2 of Yodice versus MGVespir in the SQTD Tournament of Fall 2011. MGVespir is spawning on the west side as random. He will be Shadow for this game. And on the east side, we have Yodice as Elemental.
Yodice has opted to drop the Watcher while MGVespir is the Bone Warrior carrying setup. Now, the interesting thing about Shadow is its racial ability allows its towers to be resurrected as Bone Warriors, provided they aren't summoned or already Bone Warriors.
I would like to point out that the positioning of this is less than ideal, as you would most likely want the Carrion Spirit to take as many hits as possible before the Bone Warrior falls, as this will allow the Bone Warrior to live as long as possible and help you hold. This will be very vulnerable to round 1 send, which is what he's getting 2 lings. He's going to be in some trouble here.
That he is, and you'll also notice he's decided to save gas for this round. The best way to utilize gas in this method is to try and send it very last second of the round.
And this is not looking very good for the Carrion Spitter, as he will fall and his Bone Warrior compadre will spawn to kill as many of the lings as possible before he so falls. Doesn't look like there's much hope for him as HP quickly falls. If he targets the weak ling, he might have a chance here, and oh, he does that, dropping down to 1 HP and dropping to 1 HP once more, and even again before that Bone Warrior finally falls. MGVespir just barely gets that round 2 Zealot off. Since we didn't introduce ourselves in any way, shape, or form in the last video, I'd like to take a moment to do that now. As you know, I am Fu. I was born in Lansing, Michigan. I've moved several times in my life and currently abide in an asylum just outside of Area 51. And Xaxton isn't important, so moving on. Yodice is going to be putting down Aquasphere for this round.
And Vesper's dropped down a skeleton and a Bone Warrior fillet, which will easily hold any amount of lava crawler.
Yeah, one Skeletor could pretty much theoretically hold infinity lava crawlers, especially before the regeneration was patched. No player is saving gas at this time, which is to be expected.
And there it is, the Proton.
Yeah, the Proton. I don't know.
I don't think he's going to sell it this time, man.
I don't know. I hope he sells it.
I think it's it for this time.
He could sell it. He could sell it. He can still sell it. He is not going to sell it. This Proton, I'm not sure how vital it is to the build, but it is certainly vital in my heart, as I will be mocked for it if any of these videos ever gain any sort of recognition. MGVespir has gone for a strange thing of getting a multitude of Bone Warriors. He's likely going for a Skeletor and some Fire Archers. I'd love to see a Dark Mage, as they're pretty underused, but I doubt that.
Yes, the Dark Mage's special ability of increasing the weapon speed of his allies is very useful, and including with this, the added patch of smart targeting means that they shouldn't target themselves.
But they usually seem to anyway, and MGVespir just squeaking out his 3rd worker, as Yodice did the same just a little bit earlier in the round. Both players about roughly the same eco, and which is pretty standard for these stages of the game.
And we're seeing a Roach on a ranged level. Now this is terrible play by Yodice. This Roach is going to get stuck behind the Marines and not do anything until it's just too late.
Oh, wait, Xaxton. It's not terrible play. I mean, he's not expecting a Roach or a Marine be any different. It's not intended to make him leak. But I would like to point out that most people would say that a tanking unit will be very good on a ranged wave as a send, but usually it'll just get stuck back behind that line and not really do anything for a while. So it's usually best to send something like a Hellion to, make their tanks die faster so that the range units can get focused down. Neither player appears to be saving any gas at this point.
Pushing very hard on their eco, as Yodice has dropped down another Watcher. Doesn't appear to be in any real hurry to rush out those drones.
It appears that Yodice is indeed getting speed, and looks like MGVespir is getting speed and a worker.
Leaving those 2 Bone Warriors and 2 Skeletors. 2 Skeletors should hold up to wave 6.
Yep, this is a little bit of overdeed, but I guess there's no real reason to have these Bone Warriors. There's no reason not to have these Bone Warriors, as it's not hurting his eco at all, and it's just being able to save. These are most likely going to grow up to be big Fire Archers with their ability that lets them do 20 damage per shot as fire arrows, and they slowly regenerate energy. Yodice is going for a multitude of Aqua Spirits and Watchers, both symmetrically laid out, which grants a 20% buff to all towers if they are perfectly symmetrical.
The Bone Warriors are in a bit of trouble next round. They will need some assistance.
And Xaxton,
as he drops another Watcher.
Xaxton is apparently going to let me get away with that symmetry joke. For anyone who doesn't know, that isn't true in the slightest. Yodice is going for a very defensively heavy build. I guess relatively. This is usually probably standard for a 1v1. Though MGVespir has pulled ahead of Worker. He might be in a little bit of trouble here.
I don't think so. The Nightcrawler is a very powerful unit, having a huge DPS and able to slow down any of...
Yeah, I'm sorry, that was my mistake. I seem to have missed that. He did indeed get that Nightcrawler, so that is very safe. This is part of the wave, part of the game where Shadow is very strong as they can pump out that economy really early, banking on the Skeletors. However, that will leave it weaker late game where those Skeletors are not nearly as effective.
Both players sitting at even SCV counts.
Neither player appears to be saving gas at this moment. It is unlikely that any form of gas saving will occur until around Wave 11, which is a very standard round to save on. 9 and 10 is definitely not so much.
It's almost never ideal to send on boss waves.
However, but keep in mind, if you do cause your opponent to weak on Wave 10, it is a great advantage because he loses a lot more minerals than if he just leaked a little bit on a regular wave, and you can get all of those minerals for yourself with Hourglass.
Ah, yeah, looks like you're right. He is going the Fire Archers.
Yep, I'm a big fan of the Fire Archers. One thing I'd like to see out of MGVespir in the mid game would be a Bone Overseer. I think that tower is greatly underrated. One thing it is useful for is its magic damage. People have this misconception that aura units don't really have health or damage, but this is not the case. Your Bone Overseers will have great synergy with Fire Archers as they will let your tanks live just that much longer, and they will provide an effective buffer between your squishy DPS and your tanking units. Yodice is getting 6 workers.
They stick up some damage. 6 workers and 2 protons, which the boss is going to have to slowly walk over to each proton before it gets to the DPS units.
Yep. MGVespir has pulled just barely ahead of... Yodice has pulled ahead of MGVespir in the worker count. He is sitting at 6 while MGVespir is at 5.
You'll also notice that Vesper has opted to put down the mentioned before Bone Overseer.
I would definitely not advise getting a Bone Overseer in this wave. It seems to be effective, but I'd say another Fire Archer or something. Probably a Gate Guard would be very good, as that Bone Overseer is not very good on Wave 11, as the normal damage will tear it apart, and it will not do very much damage to the mech armor.
I didn't notice this, but Yodice last round had put down a Disciple, and this round has upgraded one.
And he has saved quite a bit of gas. It looks like he so far has sent a Goliath and Immortal. He can send a Medic, and he's going for a Roach. So this is going to be a very, very tough round for MGVespir. I do not see him holding this in the slightest. I doubt this would be game ending,
really hurt him.
but this will definitely cripple him moving on. The Skeletors get ripped apart as they lose effectiveness, and the regeneration cannot make up for their low HP. The Fire Archers get toasted as they have very low HP. This is definitely going to be a leak. And good luck in the tourney, says MGVespir. He looks like he is forfeited, but he is being in good manner. We support him. Thank you so much for playing. This is Fu, signing off.
And this is Xaxton. See you later.